You emailed them out? You emailed them out.
Well, we have a speed reader, you couldn't read it in 10 minutes.
Hello and welcome to the Milford Finance Committee, September 12th, 2018. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for 6/13, 2018. They weren't put up on the drive, Mike, and I'll get them put up there. But Diana did email them back in June, so, but I will get them up on the drive. I apologize, they're not up there. Motion by Jack, seconded by Al. All those in favor? Unanimous. All right, next item on the agenda, Reno in the park, in the Trail Committee put together a nice report. It is up on the drive, and I did email it to all of you. So I wanted to have Reno come in and go over the report and some of the findings on the report. Reno, I know that there's a lot of information on there, and I know you're usually very brief.
I will be.
If you can do me a favor, just highlights would be great. Obviously, I know that there's a lot of things you want to cover, so if you want to pick the important things and
First of all,
update.
how many of you read the report? Most of you? Okay, so I don't have to.
Thank you for giving it.
You're welcome. This all started, just a little bit of a background, back in 2017, where the departments came in and were negotiating with the Finance Committee on the FY18 budgets. And I listened to that meeting, and it appeared to me there wasn't a full understanding by members of the committee, and you're not alone, this is a common problem, of the trail maintenance, all the contributors that are involved with it, who's responsible for what, and what all the tasks are. So I thought to myself, you know, it's probably time, where we've got 10 years of experience behind us now, to put together a comprehensive maintenance report, not only to better define the different categories of work that the Highway, Parks and Rec, and the Police Department and the Friends of the Trail are involved with, but it could serve as a baseline and a good document for newcomers coming on board in this area. In fact, we're expecting a new Parks and Recreation Director soon, because Mike Brashani is retiring. So this would be a good document for him to get up to speed on all the maintenance issues. So with that background, I had several meetings with all the contributors, and got their inputs, got their cost estimates. We defined the tasks for each department, and this report reflects all of that for over the course of a year that I've worked on this. Just a brief overview. People have a tendency to lump all the work we've done on the trail in one bushel basket and stir it around. It's all trail maintenance. And I try to segregate it in terms of the annual recurring work that has to be done, the periodic tasks that occur periodically and at different frequencies, and then there are one-time things that the Highway Department contributed to pay for over the past 10 years, and the Trail Committee and their fund balance account paid for to correct either design deficiencies or construction deficiencies. And those are one-time things that will never happen again. And there's two appendices, an appendix in this report that segregates those two categories of work. The Highway Department has spent, I think, $23,000 over 10 years on stuff that we pointed out were either construction of design deficiencies, and the Trail Committee spent over $30,000 of their fund balances. And the Trail Committee has about $8,000 left to spend, and then we're done with those accounts. So that was the classifications. There was some talk at that Finance Committee I referenced on pavement issues. You know, it's like, you know, this pavement is not going to last forever. Anyone who has we have roads in Milford, we have driveways, everybody knows. In New England, we have the weather to contend with, frost heaves and the sun degradation of the pavement. We don't, on the trail, we don't particularly have a vehicular traffic wear and tear, but there are other natural events that will cause the pavement to fail in certain areas. Another issue we have on the trail that's developed over the past 10 years, mostly on Phase 1, which is the oldest phase, is we decided to get some root encroachment under the pavement. And then Scott and I went out over a year ago and did an assessment. It's like 425 feet in various areas that we have to start addressing some root encroachment. The police department is responsible for maintaining all of the flashing beacons, and the police chief reported to me a while back that He was having significant problems with battery replacements. They're very expensive to replace, not only the cost of the battery, but getting the trucks out there, the electricians out there to do the work. So we looked at the problem, make a long story short, we found out that most of the problem was at Diller Street and Cedar. We cut some trees, put higher wattage solar panels, and that problem has essentially gone away. We haven't, in the past 9 months, I don't think we've had a battery replacement in those two locations. The last item that I wanted to talk about a little bit was this business of budgeting and cost accounting. When we started this project, well, I've been working on it for 20 years, the Finance Committee was concerned about the cost of the trail. It was something new for the town. We had no idea what the maintenance cost. I made some estimates early on, which were way off, I will admit that. So the Finance Committee requested the Parks and Recreation Department set up a line item so they could budget the line item and then keep track of the cost over time and see how that developed. It turns out that the Highway Department did not get a line item established, and the Police Department didn't really need one because they have an extensive log. They log every traffic light failure, and we can segregate the bike trail failures from the rest of the town. So the line item is good for a reason. It focuses on there's money allocated specifically for bike trail maintenance. We don't have a line item for Pheno Field, but the bike trail is something different, and it focuses on that. And there's money negotiated every year to put some money in those line items. The Highway Department now has a line item. You did that this year. The problem is that we don't have a time card system. When people go out and work on the trail, they don't punch a clock when they go do work on the trail, and then when they get called to do something on Pheno Field. So the department heads have to estimate periodically how much labor was performed on the trail that month, and then make a accounting transfer from their general labor account into the bike trail line item. Now, if they follow that process, you can keep track of the time, the money spent on the trail over time. So hopefully that will continue. In some cases, the Parks and Recreation Department didn't make adequate transfers, so and the line item reflected less money than was allocated for the bike trail work, although they did spend money from their general accounts. So those are the major elements of this report. It kind of puts all of this in perspective. What I tried to do also in the table on the first, on page 2, was to show the impact of the trail on the town's budgets. And the Parks and Recreation Department, the bike trail is costing them 4.3% of their budget. The Highway Department that's in the noise, is less than 1% of their budget. And the Police Department is like 2.5% of their budget. So it puts the bike trail in some perspective of how much impact it's having on the town departments. So that's did I meet the time?
You did, Reno. I am stunned.
Are you okay?
5 stars tonight, Reno.
What have you done with Reno Delusio?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
He's saving
Okay,
it
now,
up for his town meeting articles.
So you're answering your questions, I guess.
Reno, one quick question, because I know that in the last budget cycle, we supplemented the Parks Department because they asked us that they've been having pretty much a shortage every year, as I see here. And I believe it was 19,000, does my memory serve me correct? It was 19,000 that we supplemented the Parks Department budget for this fiscal year in order to be able to help out with trail maintenance. Because they, as you said, it's a growing issue, and just that there wasn't enough time or money to be able to complete what was done. Is that extra money reflected in here, or did you use the Y19 number?
The baseline number that was allocated to the Parks Department line item was 20K. That was originally, was allocated 20K. In my meetings with them, the Parks and Recreation Director, with the approval of the Parks Commission, said, we're spending another 12K out of our general account to supplement that 20K. I said, okay, now when you go into FY19 budget negotiation with the Finance Committee, I didn't know, I didn't
And they
say
did
this,
do that, and we did supplement their budget on that.
but if you look at their line item, it's still 20K.
Maybe it didn't get put in the correct line, I'm not sure.
Well,
Can you check on that? Does it ring a bell, though, that we did that? Anybody?
Yeah.
I thought so.
I think you did.
Okay, great.
Well, wait, I think you did. I don't think it ever happened.
Okay.
So Mike Brashani,
When you say it didn't happen, the money went in.
It just didn't go in the correct line, is really what happened, because their budget was approved for that certain amount.
guess-
So what we can do is we need to move it from one line to another in the future, and then if we need to do a transfer this year, we can do a transfer later
Chris,
on in the year.
in this report, it reflects that oversight. So Mike Brashani knows that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was going to, I think he still can, go to the town accountant
Yeah.
and change that line item.
Perfect.
Because the
All right.
town meeting doesn't approve at that level.
Yeah.
It can be done internally.
Yep, all right.
Yeah. So I think Mike's got the action item to go do that. But some follow-up wouldn't hurt.
No, I appreciate that, absolutely. All right, good, because I know that they did come in and say about the shortfall that you had mentioned, and we rectified that, so we'll check on the line item, though, on that.
Okay. I think there's a table in here that reflects that, too.
All right, perfect.
I know there is.
All right. With that, I'll open it up for questions for Reno. Bobby?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Reno, first and foremost, if you folks haven't taken the time to read this report, take the time to do it. It is a phenomenal report. It's
Well, good.
tremendous, Reno, and it is very thorough, and everything is concise. Anything you ever wanted to know is in there. So, great job, and thank you very much. I had one question with respect to a paragraph on page 2 entitled Chapter 90 Funds, and then I'll read for those of you that don't have it on your PCs. The bike trail construction was a federal/state funded transportation project and is therefore eligible for Chapter 90 funds for the same activities allowed for roadways. Now, is this something in addition to what we get for Chapter 90 funds, or is this something that's included in the Chapter 90 funds that come to the town? Is there something we should be doing? Are we getting all that we can in terms of Chapter
Yeah.
90 funding?
Scott checked into this, 'cause we discussed this at one of our meetings, and he confirmed that he could spend Chapter 90 funds, whatever the town gets allocated for 90 funds, Chapter 90 funds, he can spend a portion of that on the bike trail. That's legitimate expenditure,
Okay, so
because it is like a
Trail
road.
is eligible for funds to be spent on it, but that doesn't bring
No,
any
there was
extra
no
money
addi-
into
no.
the town.
That formula is based on other factors, not the fact we have a bike trail in Milford.
Thank you.
Bobby, since we supplement the chapter 90 by like $500,000, that's never been a question because the supplement is ours.
Right.
We're not tied to spending it on anything. It just, years ago, remember, we said $500,000 isn't enough, so we'll supplement it.
Correct.
So anything that Scotty wants to spend on the trail,
Carte
whether,
blanche.
whether 90 says you can or not, he's got just as much of Milford money that's not allocated to anything.
But I think to what Bobby's point was, are we eligible for more money
Yeah,
from
that's
Chapter
more-
90? I think that was what your
I wasn't
question.
clear,
Yeah.
so you've cleared it up
I
for
think
me.
that that's what your
Thank
question
you.
was, are we entitled to more money? But then the answer is
Well,
no.
when I did the assessment of the percentage of the trail activity from the highway department, I didn't include the $800,000 we get from Chapter Monday. In other words, I only put the $1 million here of the
Yeah.
town funds.
Yeah.
So, it's really almost $2 million that his whole budget on roadways is, including Chapter 90. But I didn't include the Chapter 90 because I think he's got enough issues to worry about with Chapter 90 rather than putting the bike trail in that category.
Anybody else have any other questions for Rena?
Ditto my compliments on your report.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay.
So, if no one else has any questions, I have a couple, Reno.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, with that being said, and with the fact that we supplemented, where do we stand, in your opinion, with the bike trail? What kind of condition are we in? Are we looking, I know that you said, when you talked about the percentage of, most of it is in great to good condition, the pavement, and obviously that's one of the biggest expenses. It would be repaving and that type of stuff. So it looked like there's just a small portion that we have issues with. So it looks like the bike trail's in pretty good shape. Is that a
Yeah,
fair
physically
assessment?
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got, 10 years has gone by now, so we've got some issues that don't show up early on, they show up later on.
Yeah.
Route encroachment is one of them. We haven't, we've known about that now for 3 years, and we haven't done anything about it.
Yeah.
So now we have an opportunity to get there and start correcting some of those deficiencies in the pavement. But, the oldest part is, it's Phase 1, is from the Sacred Heart Church out to Deer Street, where they're having that new construction. That's 10 years old. The rest, the bike trail was 2007, 11, and 14. So the 2014 was behind the Sacred Heart Church. That's the newest.
Yeah.
So the pavement is really in very good shape from really the Sacred Heart Church all the way to Holliston Town Line.
That's great.
But, you know, at some point, we're gonna have to bite the bullet because some of it's gonna have to be resurfaced. We can't, Scott is very reluctant about patching it because that creates a different expansion rates and you create more problems than otherwise if you didn't just leave it alone. But when these cracks get to be high enough so it causes a safety problem, then we had one already that was behind Benjamin Moore. A person hit a big crack, bike went out of control. And he went to the hospital, he didn't get hurt very much, but that was it. So over that time period, we only had one incident, and then Scott took care of that pavement problem. But he's reluctant to patch.
Well, that's great to hear.
But with all, you know, when you think of how many people use it,
Yeah.
it's not like we're not gonna keep it up. When the
Well,
time
I
comes,
hope not. You know, when you work on a project this long, you want to see the maintenance piece of it be properly funded. So that's my
Reno,
only,
with all due respect, you could have worked on a bad project for 100 years.
yeah.
None of us would want to fund it.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
true.
the fact
Yeah.
is, everybody in town loves this thing,
Yeah, it's-
so we're gonna maintain it, and it's just how do we do it?
And I think increasing
Sure
the
you
Parks
find a
Department
way.
at the last town meeting is another commitment by the Finance Committee to say we want to maintain this trail properly.
We have separate line items for
Yeah, well,
subsections within each department.
it doesn't sound like there was a need for it in the police.
You can keep track of those costs by the police department records, yeah.
Yep, and the Parks Department will address the change in the line item on that.
Okay,
All right,
well, thank you very much. All right.
thank you so much for coming in, Reno, I appreciate it.
Now I have to support you, it was less than 10 minutes.
Good job. Good job.
All right, guys, next item out on the agenda, back to our meat and potatoes, the finances of the town. Obviously, it's been quite a while since we've met, a lot has happened, a lot of updates are needed for the finances, especially going into town meeting in just a month's time. The warrant was finalized by the selectmen on Monday. It has 36 articles on it, so we have quite a bit on there. And Zach is going to give us an update. I have one.
I got it, whatever he's eating, I gotta do it, man. I'm telling you.
No, I have one, thank you.
Bless you.
Give it to me early. I'll keep it though. Do you have another one?
Yeah, I got another. Hey, Dan.
All right, how we doing tonight?
Very good.
Good. So, game plan tonight, I want to give a financial position as listed on the agenda. So what I'd like to do is kind of go over how fiscal 18 ended, and then I'd like to jump into a reminder of our goal-setting process that we did back in January, where we're at, and then segue a little bit into town meeting from there, just kind of leading up to our position for that as well. So I handed out a packet to everyone. First one's the yellow sheet. Everyone should be familiar with the financial facts. This is June now. I have free cash submitted. It's not certified yet. So that first top number there, that's still FY17. I left it there just to demonstrate that we did have a remaining balance of $900,000. So the free cash number that I have in now has got a little bit of recycling going on in there. We'll just march right through it. Retained earnings for the enterprise fund, the sewer, 3.2 million. And I'm gonna have Chris talk about the various stabilization accounts a little bit, one of which we're gonna do something with those two numbers back to back, 3.2, 3.5, the enterprise fund stabilization. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm sponsoring an article in October to transfer $2 million from the sewer enterprise retained earnings to their stabilization. So the retained earnings will probably will go down to roughly 1.2 million, and the enterprise stabilization fund will go up to 5.5 million. They are doing a project down there that we, I believe, a year ago at town meeting authorized the bond for, but if worst case, we can use what we took out to pay for it, so.
And being in stabilization, we'll get a higher return on it
That's the
instead of the
point,
money
yeah,
sitting there.
exactly.
That's why.
Yeah, that's the main point. The markets, as you all know, is pretty well right now, so if we can get in there,
No, I think it's a great idea.
we'll get some extra interest on that.
And they, since I've been here in 9 years, they've tapped into retained earnings one time because we had to. It was the only option, so we don't see it as being any issue. And we keep some of the funds liquid, so if you did.
It's still 1.2 million in there, so.
Exactly,
it's-
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so they still continue to do really good over there. Want to jump right into the stabilization accounts?
So for the June 30th, the end of June 30th, our main stabilization account, end of the year, this is market value of 17,339,066. We finished for FY18, the market value, I believe we had a short loss, and it was, I think, $15,000. The market started off really good in 17, ended pretty good, but the first couple of months, January, February, March, were down. So we
The
saw
actual realized interest was pretty good, too.
yeah,
but-
so we make most of our money off off interest. We don't really have too much of our portfolio in stocks and everything, so all it did was just, instead of making 100 grand in interest, we made 85 net.
This is a small typo, right? Long-term, short-term?
Yeah, Paul pointed that out. It should be, that's, the 8,300's our classic account there, and the other ones are, that has like 10 different names to it, but kind of our capital account, so.
Yeah, they're both-
Long-term was meaning long-term debt. You know?
They're both long-term.
I'll change it.
The one that says long-term fund, 83250, is, I believe what you guys.
We call it long-term capital fund.
Long-term capital.
We, for,
And
like the
that's-
fire truck and that type
Yeah,
of stuff.
and that's sitting at $4,025,000. So that's continuing to earn interest, same as the other stabilization.
But a
So-
million of that, we've been every year tucking away for a new deal.
Yep.
So we really have 3 million that we haven't allocated in our own way.
Correct. Just for July and August, the numbers came in, they're pretty good. The market's been doing pretty well. We're continuing to meet with our advisors and reallocating our portfolio when they feel necessary and when we feel necessary. So hopefully we get positive numbers back and continue to grow when we do OPEB.
Awesome, yeah, please.
And then the last one is the OPEB liability trust. That market value is at 4.7 million. The town does put in $600,000 every year as part of the budget, so it increases. But that actually had a market value gain of almost $200,000 this year. We are doing a new strategy. We are investing in some private equity. So that actually is taking off. We don't have a lot of money in it, but it's coming back with 7-8% gains, so.
Fantastic.
It's a pretty good yield,
Yeah,
It is, yeah,
given today's environment.
so,
yeah,
Are you restricted by the state where you can invest that?
yes. We're restricted to the legal list.
That's right, because that's the same thing we had at the college. We could only
yeah.
Yep.
What was
take
it,
so much
just
risk.
20, literally just 20 options?
Yeah, so on the
Stock
legal list is multiple mutual funds. CDs are always your safest, your treasury bonds. There's probably 20 to 25 stocks that we can invest in, so. And most of these stocks are your McDonald's, your GEs, First Southern Bank, Con Edison, all companies that are just gonna give you back dividends is basically what you get.
Yeah, it's your earning stock.
Actually,
rather-
GE come off the list?
GE, so as of July, we won't own any GE.
Yeah.
GE and Wells Fargo are both on the legal list, but our advisors advised us to pull out of that. So as of July, we sold off our GE and our Wells Fargo, and I believe we got into Bank of America. So they're constantly watching it, updating us, so we're never gonna get burned by these stocks, so.
By the way, the OPEB trust there, 4.7, is definitely our most aggressive plan. And the idea there, this is a super long-term account, and we can afford the risk on it, and we really try to get the biggest return on it as well. So if you look at the middle of the page, thank you, Chris, for the stabilization update. If you look at the middle of the page, again, this is as of 6/30, so fiscal 18, but it's a little bit of a method behind my madness here. So when you look at the 18 state aid, that already happened, but I just want to come back to it when we take a look at what we got approved for in the current year. So last year was 27 million, the assessments were 1.6. That's the old, here's 20 bucks, but I'm taking $2 back from you. Some of these are just updates, general fund encumbrance numbers. Middle of the page, FY18 snow and ice deficit, 0. We'll come back to that too. That was one of our goals. Very pleased that this committee is so supportive of that. It really does help us each year. General fund and school articles still outstanding, 2.5 million. Capital project fund balances, 3.4 million. I'm going to talk a little bit about the MSBA and kind of the timing issue we got going on there in a little bit. We went over OPEB, school choice revolving fund balance is, as of June 30th, just over 1 million. And the youth center ended with 51,000 in their revolving fund. If you look at the bottom, this is the results of what happened. It's a little skewed when you look at it because the water department, if you recall, was a budget that we had, and obviously we didn't spend any money there. So the very bottom line, I did a calculation to exclude it, and remaining budget was 92. So if you look at the next page, I haven't really gone through this with this committee before, but I figured it'd be a good idea. This is the undesignated fund balance, and this basically, in any other accounting, would be your statement of changes and retained earnings. This is the basis of what free cash is calculated off of, and putting budgets aside, I know a lot of times it's easy to think free cash is a result of having excess budget you didn't need, but it's really not. There's so many other things that come into play here. So budgets aside, this is just pure accounting. What were your revenues versus what were your expenses, and then a few other things do filter through into your undesignated fund balance. One of which, that first item there, which you'll actually see both on the right and left-hand side, it's kind of goofy. You have to run it through undesignated fund balance, but this is the close of overlay surplus. So we still maintain a pretty decent overlay reserve. We still also do have a decent receivable across many years. So we do like to keep that balance where it is. It's around $2 million. But at times, it's like, okay, we certainly have an excess here. We can close it out. So that filters through in and out of retained earnings or your undesignated fund balance. You're kind of thinking, how does that affect free cash? The way it affects free cash is your basic formula is your undesignated fund balance, quote unquote retained earnings, minus your overlay. So if your overlay balance comes down by removing that 405,000, your free cash goes up. So just kind of a little insight on how all that operates there. Still have a healthy reserve. We probably could do more, but some of the method I have, we'll save it for next year, save it for the next year. So it's not hurting anything. It's a balance sheet item at this point. Snow and ice deficit on the right, 0. If we had not cleared it, you have to reserve it and remove it from your undesignated fund balance. Again, your basis for free cash, so it's that double whammy. Your free cash that gets certified is reduced, as well as the necessity to raise it, mandatory to raise it on your recap. So that's why it's so important we continue to do this and keep it as a goal. Encumbrances, that is similar to what I'm saying with the snow and ice. So we know that we have, and most of these are articles, by the way, 2.9 million is FY18's encumbrance. You saw on the front of the sheet there is 2.4 million of article balances. So those go on auto encumbrance unless they get closed out at town meeting. And then the real basis of your encumbrance is you didn't get the invoice in on time to get on the cleanup warrant. So has to be expended before June 30th. It gets encumbered, gets reserved out of your undesignated fund balance because it's quote-unquote spoken for. Then this is just kind of our performance. The school spending's 45.8 million. We maintain a school fund for articles. We end up spending 602,000, and then there's so many encumbrances with the school, I maintain a separate fund just for that, and last year it was 382,000. All those close out. Over on the right-hand side, you see close FY18 general government, so 47,000, that's representing your grand total revenue, which you saw on the front of the page there in the yellow sheet, was just over $100 million, less what your actual expenses are. All expenses general fund, not just the operational budget, any articles, all that stuff. For a final ending balance of 6.1. Started the year with 5.6, ending with 6.1. The most basic formula of free cash is your undesignated fund balance minus your overlay minus deficit funds that are out there. So I don't have free cash certified right now. I met with the Department of Revenue last week and went over everything. I feel very, very confident with my figure. Usually I'm hush-hush on this, but it's going to be under $4 million, but right up there. So it's be in the high threes, which I think is a really nice sweet spot to be in. And as we go through this, you're going to see a preliminary, really nice plan on how we're can accomplish all the goals we set out in January.
And just to, because we had talked about this too, because people talk about that number is a large number, just so you know, we entered last town meeting at 3.4 million. So we're pretty much in the same ballpark with free cash amount.
Yeah.
This isn't, a crazy number.
Nope.
It's pretty much consistent with what we did last year, and we're able to accomplish a lot of our goals because of having that 3.5 or 3.4 million dollars last year. So it's good that we're going,
Good point, Mr. Chairman.
in the
Yeah.
high threes.
And keep in mind that that's why I purposely left the balance from last year. We're rolling almost $1 million into this
Yeah.
still. So it's really good stuff. If you flip the page, I printed up, we already went over this, the fiscal year 2019 goals and objectives we set back in January. And I put to the right there, just in bold, kind of just should go through each one of them real quickly and just kind of show you where we're at with it. Some of them we already took care of, others we're taking care of right now in the special town meeting. So again, so important to clear that snow and ice deficit we did. It's gone. We'll see what happens this year. $3 million targeted excess levy. That was an estimated number. What we really wanted to do is at least meet where we were last year. Again, on the yellow sheet there, it was 3.29. Looks like we're going to be on target there. It will require a free cash article, but it always does. So there's going to be a nice mix of leaving it on the levy and using some free cash to get to our target. Estimated raise and appropriate earmark, 1.5 million for capital funding. We're in the ballpark. You'll see it when it goes to the warrant. Contribute 500,000 to the town stabilization. We're on target to achieve that. Chris talked a little bit earlier about OPEB. We do have the 600,000 in the operational budget that went through. We already made our transfer. Put on here that maybe if we're in a nice favorable position, maybe we can take a look at contributing a little bit more. Not recommending it right now. So
How much?
I'm not recommending it.
No, but when you say a little bit,
Well, depending on if free cash was 4 million, I'd be saying let's do another 600,000, but it's not. So it's not anything hurting
big
us.
little bit,
Yeah.
not a little bit.
Yeah. In comparison to the liability, it's very, very
I
tiny.
understand.
You know?
That's why I keep it in perspective.
Yeah.
We're still not talking about
Yeah.
a little.
No, we're not. We're not. But I'm not suggesting we do that. You're not going to see any article on there, and it's nothing that's going to hurt us either, by the way. This was just something that if we could, we should. Don't think we should right now. Again, we, at the last town meeting, at the annual town meeting, we did contribute into the compensated absences special revenue fund, so we got a nice balance there. That's good. At that time, at the next point, we also had that, hey, we're going to need to fund the injured on duty special revenue. Put most likely sufficient until October. Yeah, it's not sufficient. We need to do this. So, and at the time, thought maybe 100,000. We had a tough year. Going to be recommending 250,000. We haven't touched it in 3 years. If everyone recalls, this used to be in the operational budget. No longer is, because we were able to, out of the Modernization Act, adopt this special revenue fund. kind of the beauty behind it is, one, it rolls, and second, that if there were some third-party claims, they can go back. We've only seen a couple thus far. Doesn't mean they're not gonna happen, even with what we've spent so far, but right now, it's not, and we need to square up on this. So we have it in 3 years. It was around 77,000, Rick?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, recommending 250. Again, we'll go over it when it's time to hit the article.
Recommending to meet 250 or add an additional?
Add 250.
Add.
Yep. We already did this. We talked about the health insurance mitigation plan, completed. We did it, $100,000. New pension funding schedule to achieve funding status by FY '35. This committee was supportive of it. The retirement board did pull the trigger on it, completed, accomplished, good. This is a big one, and at the next meeting, sure, we're gonna have Mike Dean in here, we're gonna have Scott in here, we're all gonna talk about it. This is the start of phase 2 of the MS4, or the EPA permit. It's been on the capital plan for some time. It's been on for 400K. We're going for 400K. It's year 1. There's a lot behind it. Again, when we get to that time, we'll go into great detail into it. $2 million of free cash for the spring annual town meeting. Now, when this was first here, back in January, that was the balance we rolled into with, which I highlighted because that was fantastic and was totally able to put us in the position that we are right now. I'd like to do this again. Out of that potentially 3.8 that we're gonna have for free cash, I absolutely think it would be wise to be able to continue, save some money. Let's not blow it all right now. We'll save it to the spring. Handle our snow and ice if incurred.
Goes back in the.
Exactly.
Zach, so of the 3.8, 1.8's going back to the tax rate,
1.5, isn't it?
1.5?
Yeah.
So that leaves us.
Preliminarily, yes.
Rough numbers. but
Yes.
I just mentally that's 2.3. You're saying 400 to MS4, so that's 1.9.
Oh, that's, we'll get to the funding in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's
raised
not
and-
all out of
it's
free
raised
cash.
and appropriate.
Correct.
Yeah, so, you
Correct.
got this, Al?
It's on the next page, Jim.
Next page, okay, I just want to keep a track of
Yup.
it, because, you know, 3 point, it always sounds like a great number, and then when you start hacking at it,
Understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. That's why we have this plan together, to avoid that whole mentality and to keep us on point.
and I will
Okay?
hold my
All
question.
right. Water company, continued preparation, it's ongoing. Refund geriatric, we did that, it's completed. The geriatric excess bond proceeds, you have to recall, we took it, brought it over to the next point, which is the finalize the Woodland School project. We needed some money there, moved it over. Selectmen entered into a what do you call it, debt forgiveness agreement that's in effect right now. I did say I'd come back to the MSBA. We are still waiting to close out this project. There's still,
January.
yeah,
Really, Aldo?
yeah.
What's
So-
still pending? Is all the work done, or is there?
Yeah,
still-
well, paperwork is, the big thing that is, the MSBA has submission dates of project completion. You just can't go in every week and do it. They have 3 or 4 dates during the year. You have to have all your documents. What held us up, we missed the August 31 date for a lack of 2 documents. One was the leads certification, and we just got that about 4 or 5 days ago. And some other finances, you're talking like maybe $50,000 worth of disputed money numbers, so those just arrived today. So now the next target date is December, so that'll,
Okay.
we can't close out until then.
Yeah. Well, we're right there with the spending, we are.
Well,
I
we
wanna
have
call
to-
it an issue, a problem, but the thing that's happening right now is until we get to that completion, the MSBA is holding 5% back right now
Right.
of the eligible money that we have. Now, the 5%, to put it in terms, is close to 1.5 million.
So that the people around the table don't misunderstand it. This project did not go over budget.
Oh,
When this is all said and done, it's gonna probably be $1.5 million less than originally projected. That's not really money. it's borrowing capacity.
Correct.
So basically, there's not gonna be $1.5 million dropped
Cash
on
coming
the
in.
table.
Correct.
Good
It's
point.
just,
Correct.
it's just means that, and the 61 million is gonna probably end up being 59 or 58,
Correct.
8 or something like that.
I still did collectively, we did a fantastic job, which would be a poster child on how to do this. But until that closes out, we're currently maintaining a deficit in a capital project fund for the Woodland School, right now around 1.4. There is some additional spending, we'll probably get to that 1.5. All indication is we will get full 5% reimbursement. Money comes in, deficit's gone, project's closed out. And the,
We did make the number with leads, so that's what we were waiting for. That-
Excellent.
That 2% additional reimbursement. was-
excellent, yeah.
was achieved.
So all indication, to Aldo's point, is that we should not need to appropriate any more money, but till we get there, don't know. The other impact is, as I understand it, is that even once it is closed out, once it has to go through this whole audit process and all this other jazz, that could take some time. So the ramifications isn't anything serious. If we had a cash flow problem, it would be. We don't have a cash flow problem. Chris, would we end the year with 66
Yeah, that's,
cash on hand?
well, that's
Yeah.
including your stabilization, yeah.
but
So we had
66
about
million, so.
Not
think-
enough.
Yeah, exactly. But point being, I think we could front the 1.3 with the interfund borrowing. But what we do need to do, I'm really hoping to avoid this at 6:30 at the next year. As of 6:30, we had to take out a short-term state note to cover that, or as I said earlier, with the free cash calculation, designated fund balance minus overlay minus deficits. If we didn't clear that, we would be wiping out 1.3 million of free cash. We did clear it. He took out the shortest term possible. It didn't cost much money. Just for that magic measurement date on 6:30, we had all our funds squared up. So hopefully we don't have to do that again, but we will see. Board of Selectmen appointed an HR position that was set out as a goal. We hired some, we put it in the budget, got support, and we hired someone. She's great. Her name's Maureen Griffin. Going well. Keep operational budget at 4%. Well, we ended up at 4.7. So that's kind of like the one item on here where we didn't hit target. Try to target a single tax rate increase of 3% or less. We all know we don't have a single tax rate, but it's nearly impossible to project out what it's going to be with just because of the assessed value changes that could impact your rate just without even doing anything, having the same exact levy. So easier to do it this way, and all indications are on target. Final one at the time, everyone was anxious. Hey, when are we paying for the bus? It's here. You know, it's in this. I just put it on here. Be prepared. It's supposed to come this year. Supposed to be $50,000 after we gave some grant money, Chinar, and the state earmark and whatnot. It is. It's in the cherry sheet. It's being assessed on a monthly basis. It's 50K divided by 12, and it's coming through as a new assessment. So it is here, and it is 50. It's kind of the moral there. So that was just a quick recap of what we set out to try to do in January, what we have done thus far from the annual town meeting. And if you flip the page, I'm going to kind of go through a quick sneak peek of,
Chairman, can I ask a question on this page?
course.
before we
Yeah.
go there? Just- Zach, one quick question on the operational budget. The target was 4%, we came in at 4.7. Is 4% realistic for this year? Was there an anomaly last year, or do you think we should increase it to 4.5 or such?
well, we
Is
set
it too early to tell?
It's probably a little bit too early to tell, but we set it at 4%, not really based on like, oh, we need to hit that. We did it based on what we knew. We knew we had these contracts. We knew we wanted to put an HR position in. You know,
Yep.
at the time we said it, wasn't much talk about the special ops team. So
That's really, to be honest with you, the special ops unit is the 0.7%, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest with you. That's really was the biggest skew on it. And we had no idea that even, it wasn't even talked about
Yeah.
when we were planning the
Ongoing
4%.
cost. That's not a one-time.
No,
cost.
absolutely,
Yeah.
to your
It
point,
decreases, though.
yeah.
that close.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
there's a couple of one-time charges on
Right,
it, yeah.
right.
Okay. Very
So
good.
Bobby, it wasn't like 4 is like, oh, we have to be there, anything over is difficult, you know, it was,
Target, yeah.
it was a target that we
That's
thought we
why
could
we're all
hit.
here.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you.
Yep. But it is too early to kind of tell, but we'll be working on it collectively and.
You guys only hit 99 out of your 100 objectives. Shame on you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Good. So, moving on, quick sneak peek on what to expect for town meeting here. First sheet is the balance sheet or your P&L, now updated. So back in May, you would, if you had that in front of you, you'd see some different numbers because we were working off of estimates there. Bring your attention to the middle of the page on the left-hand side. I said on the yellow sheet there, state aid figure, it's last year's number. Wanted to come back to it as a way of comparison. That was 27.1 or 29.1. So the state and Baker's really kept their promise to really give support to the cities and towns. And I was skeptical throughout it, but yeah, it's pretty
Well, remember,
wild.
They got $1 billion surplus. They're
Yeah.
looking to, so hopefully that's part of it.
Monopoly money.
Exactly.
Election year.
Yeah. All those earmarks.
Top left, magic of Prop 2.5, pretty easy to project out. So we remember 67.8, that's where we could have been, not where we were, where we could have been. That's how it works. So 67.8, which is tack on your 2.5%. And then here's our kind of wild card right here, even still right now. 650 for new growth. Indication is it's gonna be better. How much better? I'm not totally comfortable going there yet. It's submitted by the assessor. It seems it's gonna be better.
Is that counting on any big projects or anything special that could be delayed?
Get any indication? I know there is off the top of my head, I don't have it. But the-
Combination of the residential, personal.
yeah.
No, Paulie, I understand, but there's no big, like Uncle Phil's doing a new addition that if he delays, we're in trouble or anything.
Oh, no, no threat there.
That's my only
Yeah,
worry,
no.
is that
No, I don't think so.
there's one big one in there that could get delayed.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some big ones in there, but I think we're on point, yeah. So that actually could look a little bit better. Local receipts there, we adjusted a little bit for now just because of what we just talked about, but that's a pretty nice number. Local receipts per the tax recap is also inclusive of the room occupancy tax, which you see is $1 million. It definitely was a little bit over $1 million, but not much, so that's a good number too. Offsets, your public library, your school choice, those are just your cherry sheet figures. They go to different funds, that's why we back it out. Also replicates what the tax recap looks like. And then you have your sewer department receipts. That's the exact number that you'd see on the right-hand side embedded in the public works department.
Zach, do you know if the school choice, the 691, what was it last year? Or was it about the same, or did it go down?
That's in, I actually think it was less than that, but yes, it was, yeah,
So it's going worse this year?
Yes,
yeah.
it has.
It's not going better? I mean, that was, my question is, we were hoping even if it's a little bit better.
I guess on the revenue side, the way you look at it, it is better on the revenue side, but on the assessment side, which is embedded with,
Both sides have gotten more. So we've
Yeah.
got a couple more in and a couple more out.
correct,
Dumb question, net number, are we doing better or worse?
No change.
no change.
No
yeah,
change? Okay.
Yes.
Very close
Which
to
makes
flat.
it worse.
Well, no, but I just want to know, I mean, are we making progress? And it sounds like,
Sound like it, doesn't.
sounds like we're status quo, we didn't make any progress this
I
year.
haven't seen any activity either.
Tell them no. Just gonna suggest that they want to consider that.
But this time we did, now we know we got free cash, and we did pop in the 1.5 million of free cash that's thus far is what we're recommending for the taxpayer relief in order to achieve our full 3.2 million, which the next sheet you can follow a little easier. Now, so that gives us a grand total of 112 million, inclusive of the sewer department, for potential revenue. Doesn't mean that's where we're going, that's the potential that we have.
Just for reference, $1 million, what does that mean to the average Milford homeowner? I knew it was $8,
It ends up being about $8.
Yeah.
$8 per million?
Per Per assessment,
100,000.
per assessment, yeah,
For,
per $1,000.
how much is that million and a half worth?
100,000, 10,000.
Yeah, that was the number we came up with, and I forget.
It's not $8.
It's not per million, no.
$8
It's
per
I thought it
per,
was 8 per
per
100 grand.
10,000 because,
Per
yeah.
10.
Yeah,
So that's like $800.
We should know that.
Find out.
yeah.
We should know
No,
that.
I just, we should know because the average person,
Can't be $800 per taxpayer, can't
it
be,
can't be that much.
can't be.
80.
80.
Adding in the-
Move the decimal
Yeah.
So
point.
it'd be 80 plus half, so it'd be $120 that we're saving as homeowners because that million and a half. That makes more sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's that million and a half. The total is gonna be 3.3.
yes.
Yeah, but no, I'm just saying, Chris, if that million and a half
That million and
wasn't
a half
there,
is gonna, no, there's no question, yeah.
we'd be dipping into everybody's pocket another
100%.
$120.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
I mean, that's the number of people, because they hear millions and.
Yeah.
And get lost. It's no. Average homeowner in Milford,
Yeah.
it's $120 not out of your pocket.
That,
Yes,
that part
that's
of
how
it.
you should look at it. And for the next meeting, I will do some calcs and have the exact number.
Yeah.
Yep, all right. Operational budget, done at this time. Say this all the time, and I know this committee supports it, but that is why we keep capital out of the annual town meeting. So we can focus solely on the operational budget, as well as, at that time, we only were working with estimates for our revenue sources. Now they're real, now we know exactly what we have, and now we can achieve our targets and do what we gotta do. Bottom corner, goals and objectives, is really where they come into play there, and it's really where we try to stay away from at the annual town meeting, and where we tackle right now at the special town meeting. So stabilization, said earlier 500, recommending 7. 500,000 to the classic account and 200,000 for the next installment of the field.
Which will be done.
Yeah, which will be done.
Because I'll bring it to 1.2, and that was with lights and everything. That's wonderful.
It's great. I think it was a fantastic idea that we opened that second account, and I think it's pretty cool to see that it's working the way we wanted it to. So, that's
What do
awesome.
you do, excuse me,
And what do you-
what do you do when the estimate goes by it? When the estimate's more than that, what do we do in that case?
You
Raise-
stop.
Raise and appropriate?
You stop.
Meaning what, if
Say it's
the actual
within a-
project you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'd have a number of options there, as you know, if you recall, at one time, we also were saving for the ladder truck. We had a killer free cash year, we didn't need it, so you
Move it.
could do the whole amount through stabilization. We could look at our position at the time with free cash, possibly raise and
The agreement,
appropriate.
Jeff, many years ago, was when we hit this number, we evaluate. If it's more, we stop. And then we have a discussion as, do we supplement it? Do we wait another year? There was no absolute to say, if it's 1.19, you go ahead.
Understood.
It still has to have a full discussion. But if this came in at 1.3, then the FinCom has to decide, at least that was 5 years ago,
I'm with you.
as to what do we do? It's not an automatic. 'cause, you know,
Discussion was to put 1.2 aside.
yes, it was originally 1, and then with the lights, 1.2, and then at that point, we discuss, because it's not a given.
Right.
You know, 5 years into the future, you don't know if something's gonna change. If I
Spot on.
remember right.
No, you're right, you're perfect. Look at the bold number on bottom right-hand corner, 3.2 million. That's embedded in this balance sheet. Look at the very bottom numbers from the right and the left. We went over the total revenue, potential revenue, 112.5. 112.5 for expenses and your operational budget and all the other financial goals and capital goals we're gonna hit for an exact perfect zero. Now, clearly, we made this balanced exactly to zero, and we have some estimates in here, but they're pretty spot on, so we're in good shape. This is a balanced budget. We need to put a balanced budget together. It is, and we're hitting our targets. Really good stuff. Last page is kind of, I reconcile with Paul all the
Before we move on, I
time.
just have a quick question.
Sure.
I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. The 3.29 million for the levy adjustment, that's what we apply to the tax rate every year, correct?
Well, yeah, that was last year, so kind of the mentality is we gotta match it, and if you think about it this way, by matching it, you have two things going on. You got your Proposition 2.5, we're keeping taxes to theoretically 2.5%, plus you have your new growth, which is, unless you're building, unless you have some kind of improvement to your own property, the areas that others are kind of chipping in now too. So by doing it, kind of quote unquote, the matching game there, what the ultimate theory is to try to keep your taxes under control. So it'll take, the actual article right now as stands, which again could change as we go through, will be 1.5 applied from free cash, and then the rest will be left on the levy to achieve our excess levy of 3.2, possibly better. We'll see where it goes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next page, kind of similar, definitely same results, but in a different format, but kind of that 1 plus 2 is 3 is the same as 3 minus 2 is 1. Yeah. So if you look at this, top, always it's representing what we actually did at the annual town meeting. Again, focused primarily on the operational budget. We did have articles at the time, but we were very wise and we carried some free cash forward, so we handled it with free cash without touching the levy, which is so awesome. I think this might have been the first time we did this in a while, at least into my tenure, yeah. So really good stuff there. If you look in the middle of the page, you got 2 highlighted numbers. You got your free cash. I apologize, I should say FY18. I didn't correct the typo Chris Chairman pointed out to me before. That should say 18. Not certified. Again, taking this to 4 million, it's going to be a little bit less than that, just for purposes of estimates. Still pretty spot on, using rounded number of 4 million. Estimated levy capacity, which is taking the sheet prior to that and backing out from your total available revenue what already happened. So available 5 million, again estimated. So we've got a total of $9 million marching into here. And I put into summary format here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 major categories. We have capital, we have stabilization, we have stormwater management, that's very important, hence its own item. We have your injured on duty fund that we talked about, 250, and then these other non-capital requests, we have dispatchers, contractors square up with, and a few other items. You, committee have the warrant?
I have the warrant.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Final item, your taxpayer relief, last article,
You still
jointly
have to look at
sponsored.
the capital number, because there's stuff that got slid on that has never come before the subcommittee. And Joyce is gonna take up a couple where they're
Excellent.
scheduled for next year. And all of a
Yep.
sudden, they got put on as articles, and I'm not saying that's good or bad.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Just
They,
The normal process is we vet them before we put them on
yeah,
the warrant.
there's a few that need to be vetted for sure.
Yes.
Yes, I'm with you, 100%.
And good news is, most of them have been on for, years.
Yeah,
And they're just coming due, but all of a sudden, there's one little sneaky, there's
Yeah.
a sneak attack here and there that,
yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, they, they,
Haven't seen the warrant.
yeah, they do.
it was posted today. It's not, no wows.
Well, we have a process in place, and
Yeah.
That's
we
it.
owe it to the
we're
people
gonna
that
stick to
follow
the
the
process,
process
right?
and the rules to maintain that whenever
stick to it.
possible.
Bobby, it's not our money. We need to follow the process, as you say.
Yeah. This committee's always done very well with doing that, so I don't see any reason to change now. Take a peek, the final results here, the big magic number, most important thing to try to target is that excess levy. If you follow my arrows down with using 1.5 of actual article coming from our free cash, coming from our retained earnings or our undesignated fund balance, will come through under this plan here and achieve 3.29 million, our exact number that we set out earlier.
Great job.
Thank you. I know that was a lot of material, but any questions?
That's why I didn't want to put a lot on today's agenda, because I knew how much, and I know that we're all going to have questions for Zach and everything. A couple things before I open it up. I just want to compliment your team. I remember when we did this goals and objectives for the first time this year, I loved it. And, for you to, to see all these completed next to every one of them puts a smile on my face, because I can't believe we sat down here between us, the selectmen, and we went through and said that this is what we want to do for a year. And to know that almost every single one of these things we accomplished, and we're still looking at a $4 million free cash number. We're still looking at $3.2 million in levy capacity and taxpayer relief. After, that's if everything happens at town meeting the way we think is gonna happen, or hope, whatever. It's just excellent. And the services that we provide and everything, and like I said, the work that your department does, and Chris isn't here, I'd give him a compliment as well. It's just a great job, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I actually failed to mention
They
that.
still have room to improve. They only hit 99 out of 100.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
So with that
Always
being
looking.
said, if we wanna open it up, if anyone's got questions for Tom and Zach?
Gee, you really did a nice job.
To be honest with you, I'm stunned. I was like, wow, I'm like, they'll have 1,000 questions?
Tommy, when you come through with millions of extra, that puts us all in a good mood.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is, I've just completed 1 year and I've learned a heck of a lot, especially through him. No question about it.
Good job.
If it was the other way around, you'd have a lot of questions.
I particularly like the way you linked everything together from sheet to sheet. There's a lot of correspondence, and you laid it out very well.
Thank you.
This committee owes you a debt of gratitude to your team.
This is great, because we can understand it, even non-accountants.
Yeah.
Because too many times in past decades, unless you were a CPA, it felt
I
like
know.
that game with the
Yeah.
shell.
I fell victim to it too, and I.
But this is wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Zach, speaking for the taxpayers, we thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Really do. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank
I
you.
saw a
Thank you for
point.
coming.
That's your 2.5 million of free cash to move forward.
Well done. Yeah, John.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Next item on the agenda, committee reports. Is there any committees that have any reports?
Yes.
Mike?
We met with, the subcommittee met with the library, had a very good meeting there with the director and the head of the board of trustees. Several items, the HVAC article that was on October of last year it looks projected to be completed under budget and without any difficulties there. If you've been by the library, you've noticed the upper patron lot is paved and marked. The lower additional spaces have been laid in and paved and marked as well. They're looking at seal coating the employee area there to extend the life of that area. And I think Highway Department is doing a little bit more additional work on the interior area to the lower parking area. Again, all of this is within budget. It was a town meeting article from last October, and moving right along on that, pretty much as planned. The library did have the building commissioner take a look at the front steps at the library. These are concrete steps that have been in deterioration. I believe they were installed around the mid-'80s. There is a large area on one of the middle steps that has had a breakaway on it, and they did repair it. The board does not want to consider it an emergency expenditure, and they're not approaching it as that. But as I say, even this winter, the first freeze-thaw cycle that we have is probably going to loosen that large area of repair of cement on concrete. They did submit an article for this October, and this was not done until they sought the advice of the building commissioner, who said it did not need to be an emergency repair, but it should be done as soon as possible. The library felt it could be done next spring, which would mean there would need to be funds allocated at our October meeting. They do have estimates on replacing those concrete steps with more durable granite steps. They do have an estimated number on that. However, they're still trying to obtain what costs there may be involved in making sure that the step area complies with ADA requirements. And they're still getting information on that. You can envision the steps here at the town hall, which they had to address ADA accessibility on the steps there as far as railing design, step design,
there's several issues that has to be addressed there. So I believe the article addresses a certain amount of money, which includes as yet unknown ADA amount. The subcommittee did vote to support the article, unanimous support, as we come to the whole commission to let you know that as a subcommittee, we do support that. Now, the director and the board of trustees at the library took a look at their capital plan. And in order to accommodate this short-term notice on steps, which they know they don't like doing, they know you don't like to do it, none of us like to do that, but it's there. It's about one step up from an emergency expenditure. And they have readdressed their capital plan and moved out literally every year items, kind of shifted them over 1 year later. And they're going to be presenting that to you, Al, as far as capital expenditures. That plan also has the support of the subcommittee. We think they addressed this very intelligently and responsibly, and there'll be more information on that when you start looking over the articles for the October meeting.
And my biggest, obviously, the process got not followed, because the steps never came up.
Right.
There's a problem there, and the biggest issue I have is I'm worried when you say, do we know what we want to do? Not yet. You know, we don't really know what we have to do in the project to deal with ADA, to deal with this, to
Well,
deal with.
they're straddling the timeline of trying to get the repair in because of the situation that they're in, you know, as opposed to putting a yellow tape across the steps and making everyone use the ramp coming up the side. They're straddling between that and trying to make sure they get the right number and get it on the town meeting warrant.
If I may.
So they're balancing here to try to get
Michael,
it.
it feels like a little bit of that Russian ballet called the Bolshoi.
No, it's not.
Okay, because candidly, they're not saying it has to be done before spring.
Right.
Now, to me, coming in saying we're gonna have a problem, hey, Finance Committee, would you support saving a little bit of money till we know what we're doing, and having a special in May, like we've done with other articles, feels like a better solution for me. You know, if they say it's gonna be around, what, 30?
Up
Then
to.
But around 30, and you say, hey, guys, this is, what you presented is fine, but I got a hard time that we haven't vetted any option. I'd much rather see the committee say, let's put away 30 out of our 1.5 million, and come the May meeting, the difference between April and May doesn't feel like, oh my God, we're gonna put yellow tape and the world will end. You know, I'd much rather see
No,
us.
they're trying to avoid that too.
Well, but Michael, that's what I'm saying. Having them come in saying, can you tuck away 30? Do you agree that we should do it? And then once we really know what we need, we'll come back and have a special for the May.
Well, that's our discussion to have with them, to be honest with you. That's not really a discussion for you to have with Mike. So we'll have that discussion. And I'm not saying that you weren't correct about a lot of what you said, but the point is that I think that's our discussion to have with the library.
Sure,
So, anything else, Mike?
that's it.
As usual, great report. Thank you very much. Anybody else get subcommittee reports? Okay, the warrant was just approved 2 nights ago by the selectmen. It has 36 articles on it. There's quite a bit of stuff, guys. I'm looking, because we have to get our report to Amy by October 1st to give her the 2-week deadline in order for her to get it to the voters. So we're gonna need to meet at the end of September. I'm looking at September 26th and 27th. I'm gonna put it together and see about maybe doing it in one night, but I don't know if we can. There's a lot on there. And if we want to do a marathon night versus 2 reasonable nights,
Those don't work.
I don't think so either. And that's why I'd love to do the 26th and 27th if that works for everyone. That gives us, if for some reason on the 26th we need to have someone come back on the 27th, and then that also gives Al a couple days to finalize the report, have us look it over,
Why can't we do that?
fix things, and then get it to, because I don't think that I know that I don't want to speak for them, but I know that some of the department heads still need a little bit more time, like especially like the library, to get their warrant stuff together.
Would it be a problem
plenty of
25
time,
and
didn't-
26 versus 26 and
Knock down
27?
that additional ADA expense on the staff, that's the only
No, that's
thing.
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
They weren't even gonna do
Just
that.
moving it up to Tuesday, Wednesday instead of Wednesday,
Well,
Thursday.
they were already
Um,
anticipating that.
I have obligations till 7 o'clock on both those nights, so I'm gonna be late on the Wednesday night anyway, but if you guys don't mind doing that, and
Which one?
I'll show up around 7:30 on both nights.
25, 26.
Why can't we start next Wednesday?
Yeah, why can't we
Why
start
not
the
next
19th?
Wednesday and the following
I
Wednesday?
mean,
we
this way
can get
gives
back to
us
the
time,
wall.
we won't have to
Right.
rush, and we can, and just get the, see,
Okay.
see
I won't-
who is
you'll have to do it
ready,
Yep.
and we'll get those out of the way and gives the other people time to get it
For the
done.
next Wednesday?
Right,
That's
now,
fine.
whoever's ready, come on in.
Let's do it on me, because you had said 26, 27.
That's what I
and
was
I'm
hoping for.
traveling that week to save the week
I
after.
can do it for you. Is that what the preference is try to do it a little bit earlier?
Just go Wednesday to Wednesday
Do
until we get
Wednesday and
done.
I
Wednesday?
like Wednesday to Wednesday.
Wednesday
Okay,
until it's done.
sounds good. All right, so let's book something for Wednesday, the 19th. I will get to department heads, talk to them. I also, like I said, the reason I did it later too is I wanted for some of them to be able to get to the subcommittees as well. So if I think that they can get to their so as subcommittees, you guys are gonna have to meet with them sooner rather than later now. If there's any vetting that needs to be done that you haven't already spoke to. So by moving it up a week, I'm looking to you guys to get that done. So we still wanna do that, so we'll do Wednesday, the 19th. Yes, Jerry?
Can I kind of broach a subject here, because we were talking about it before you got here.
Yep,
We have about 36 articles,
yes, sir.
and I'm pretty confident that most of us on this committee haven't seen the likes of those articles, and they're already on town meeting warrant. And that's a little bit of a different rub right now. Why are we putting articles on the warrant and subcommittees haven't seen or heard about?
Yeah, most of the capital articles, to be honest with you, that are on there, of the 36, most of the capital articles have been talked in the past to either the capital subcommittee or the other subcommittees. So, and I think of the capital articles, I think out of the 36, those might be,
There's 3 of them that we haven't,
but either way, let's just say that 20 out of the 36 are capital articles. Does that sound right? Chairman Walsh, Paul? I'd say about 20, so at least about 16.
6 for town meeting.
6 are town meeting committee, which is the, yeah, 2,
Okay, I know about those.
okay. So the 6 are the town meeting, like saying the pledge before the town meeting. So anyway,
I'm worried about money articles that are now just popping up out of the woodwork.
there's really, that's why I'm trying to get to you. There really is not that many. Because stabilization's another article.
Okay.
You know, but there are some, Jerry, I'm not discounting that. I agree with
I
you.
know
and
of a couple.
Yes,
There-
but my point is, there's not as many as you think. Of the 36, most of them have been covered and we've known about.
Some more.
Chairman, what's your anticipated
Talked
date
about
for
one
getting out on the drive so we can take a look at it?
I'll put the warrant up right now,
Another one coming.
before we even leave.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
I just didn't want to put it up before the selectmen. I kind of do that as a courtesy to them. I don't like doing that before.
But there's an article in town meeting.
So with that being said, all right, I'm going to book something for Wednesday the 19th and Wednesday the 26th. I'm going to talk to department heads tomorrow to see about who everybody's ready. People who are ready, I'll try to get them on the 19th. For people who need more time, like maybe the library or something, I'll put them on the 26th.
Perfect.
Okay? And I'll get that email out to you on the agenda for each of the Wednesdays, and we'll go over that.
Well, it's,
And I will send it to the important person in the room, Miss Diana.
It's a pretty good.
All right.
When's the town meeting again?
October 15th. That's the other thing, is that town meeting also is extremely early this year. We never have town meeting this early.
Yeah, the 25th or something.
Exactly, it's usually a couple weeks later.
We're gonna end up needing information on some of these others, as we have every single time, and we scramble just before the
Yep,
town.
no question,
Get
so,
it done.
I will get it done.
Get her done.
Will we get a copy of the warrant?
I'm gonna put it up on the drive right now. And I can print them out and if you guys need.
We'll get them.
Yep,
it is posted because I pulled it down this afternoon.
if you wanna check, I can print it out for you, I can mail it to you too.
All right, will you do that?
Yep, I certainly will.
I don't remember looking over the.
All right, any other items, guys, that we need to talk about?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious, is it our intention to give a recommendation on every article, including those that don't relate to any finances?
We usually do.
I was just curious because there's a lot
I
of
know.
articles in there regarding parliamentary procedure.
We should refer to sponsor.
No, it's a very good point, Mike, and I'm hoping, that when they do come up in here, that we recognize that they're referred to sponsor, as we usually do, and we don't make a big conversation about them.
Okay, I just wanted to, no,
Okay,
because I know in
so
the past that sometimes,
I,
the last time we didn't do any refer to sponsors, because we wanted to make a recommendation on every single article. I just want to make sure that was still appropriate.
I don't know if, I think there are some that we do just till we want to have an opinion on, but on the whole, we usually do refer to sponsor, and I'm gonna have everybody in, and like I said, I'm hoping that everybody here will cooperate, and when we identify a refer to sponsor, we make a motion quickly on it, so I'm trusting you guys on that one, so.
I'll buy you one now.
All right, do I have a motion for adjournment? Motion by Chuck, second by Bobby. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thanks and have a great night.